Hi, Jim Van Zant, one of the pastors here at Carlisle United Methodist Church, Sermon in 3 minutes. Thanks for tuning in. I want to invite you, if you're ever in the area, have never stopped by CUMC, please stop by, get all the information off of our website, which is how you found us in the first place. Hey, this past Sunday I shared a scripture. It's from Matthew's Gospel, chapter 25, verses 31 to 46. Now, you might not know immediately what that is, but I'm sure you know it by its more common name, the parable of the sheep and the goats. It's a teaching of Jesus called the Olivet Discourse, and it is about judgment. And it's difficult words to hear, but we're in the church season of Lent, and so we're to be challenged with all kinds of things in our lives. The parable really challenges us to think about how we are living our lives in response to Jesus. The parable teaches that the difference between the sheep and the goats are what they did and didn't do. And based on that, they will then be judged, and their eternal destiny will be determined. Now, if that were the case for each and every one of us, how do you think you're doing in that regard? Are you sheep, or do you think you're more like a goat? The difficulty with that criteria for judgment is that how do you know when you've done enough to get in? How do you know when you've done that one good deed that puts you over the judgment goal line? That's a problem. You never know with that. And so most of us, if that's a big concern of ours, are condemned to living a life of this constant pressure of never knowing. It squeezes the joy quite out of living. In fact, you may know some people, as I know some people, who kind of have given up on it because they have some black marks in their history and they have predetermined that just gets them out of the ballgame altogether. But then comes Easter. Everything changes with Easter and the empty tomb. Not only is death defeated, but so do things change with regard to our judgment. The only way to get through the throne room of God is with the righteousness of Jesus. And the only way we can do that is by giving ourselves completely to Him. It's not based anymore on what we did and didn't do. It's based on what Jesus did. And Jesus was perfect. It's the whole point of Jesus. And that's why we want to become a follower of Jesus, because that's the only way through the judgment room of God into the eternal bliss of heaven that He promises for us. I don't know if you've ever thought about that much. We tend not to. Church season of Lent, though, challenges us to think about those things. I'm challenging my congregation to think about the cross differently, and maybe for the first time in their lives have a deeper appreciation of what that cross really means. That cross means everything for us. That's the only way through the judgment room of God is by Jesus. Jesus wrapping His righteous robe. That's the image we get in the Scripture. His robe of righteousness around us, so that when we're standing in that room and God looks for us and calls our name, all He sees is Jesus. Jesus is saying, "This one's mine. Pass through." And we get all the eternal reward. Thanks for tuning in to Sermon in 3 minutes on this way. I hope you'll think about the cross differently, maybe with a different sense of appreciation, and get rid of any notion you have about trying to do good things to get into heaven. If you're trying to do good things to get into heaven, I have some bad news for you today. You'll never do enough, ever. The only way we get in is with the righteousness of Jesus. Thanks for tuning in, Sermon in 3 minutes.